Hello. So this is our design technology on the Wright booklet. If you was on the Zoom this morning, I was explaining that we're doing our collaging of the DT and our artists that we do at the beginning of each session. So the aim of this is to find out about the Wright brothers and the invention of the aeroplane. Again, if you was on the Zoom, I was explaining that we're going to be creating our very own playground. So we're looking at the design of it, and then we will implement it through the technology side. So to be successful, you will be able to know the differences between the Wright Flyer and a modern aeroplane and recall some key facts about the Wright brothers, and that is what I'm looking for today. So the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, invented the aeroplane. This was a huge milestone in the world for international transportation, so being able to get from different countries. Today, people can take trips that previously would have taken months by the train or a boat, and now it takes a few hours by the aeroplane. So if we're thinking and linking back to our geography in travelling, and would we like to live beside the seaside, places like Spain, where we can get to in a couple of hours, would have taken a long time and we would have had to go by boat. So let's have a look at a timeline, a little link here to history. Key fact, the brothers grew up in America. As children, they enjoyed coming up with new inventions. So in the 1700s, the first flight of a hot air balloon was 1783. So we're thinking back to before the Victorian times here. Then the 1800s, so the start of Victorian. Wilbur Wright was born in 1867 and Orville Wright was born in 1871. So he was born 4 years later. Then in the 1900s, so the year before Queen Victoria died, if we're linking it all in, the first flight of an aeroplane in 1903, so 2 years after she died, and then obviously into the 2000s. So the Wright brothers, their interest in flight began when their father brought them a toy helicopter which flew with the help of rubber bands. As they grew older, they learned how to make efficient propellers and studied how birds flew to aid with the wing design. They also learned how to make lightweight engines. Orville made the first flight to North Carolina in December 1903, and he flew 120 feet, lasting 12 seconds. As the day went on, both brothers had flights which lasted for increasingly longer periods of time. So if you have a look at this plane here on the picture, think about how is the plane different to a modern plane. So if you're looking at that, how is it different to a plane that we would get on today? You can see it there in a bit more detail. In November 1904, the newly designed aircraft Flyer 2, Wilbur took to the skies, and the flight lasted for over 5 minutes. So if you're thinking they've gone from 12 seconds up in the air to 5 minutes now, and now we can spend sometimes up to 24 hours in the air on a plane. So the history of the flight timeline, we had a look at here on the previous slide. Let's go now into 1903, where we found the first flight of an aeroplane, and then 1939, the first flight of a helicopter. 1957 was the first airliner flight carrying passengers. Okay, so the first flight carrying passengers. So really, that's not actually as long ago as you might think. And then in 1961, the first flight into space. So from 1903, the first flight of an aeroplane for like 12 seconds, all the way to 1961, we have progressed so much to be able to now fly into space. Okay, so on your sheets now, you'll be cutting and sticking any of the facts to do with the Wright brothers. Anything that's not on there, remember you add by writing down. So for example, the brothers grew up in America. You might want to draw an America and colour it in, an American flag and colour it in, sorry. There are two brothers. You might want to figure out how old they are by using some of your maths work. You might want to figure out how many years between them. I did mention that earlier. You might want to talk about some of the key facts of when the aeroplane was first around. You might want to do some of these key facts here to do with their interests as they was growing up. You might want to use Kiddle and research even more. Don't forget to take a picture and send this on Dojo. When we come back, we will be reviewing these facts of the Wright brothers, and we'll do a bit of magpieing from each other. Okay?